comedian. Are you even ready? They are one of my favorite comedians in Chicago. I love them dearly. Give it up for Jake Noll!
Hey, what's up? Keep it going for everybody that you saw tonight. What's up, what's up, what's up? I'm Jake. I'm non-binary, which means that I don't identify as male or female. I identify as Kevin Bacon from Footloose. Specifically. I'm non-binary, and this is a good crowd. You guys probably know what that is, but in case you don't, let's pretend this is Indiana. I'm a non-binary of the trans variety, and I recently got top surgery, which is the medical term for getting your tits chopped off, which is good. I feel much better now. Yeah, we'll give it up for that. I feel much better now. I experience what's called dysphoria, where you don't feel comfortable in the body that you're in, and I can best describe that if you've never experienced that before. If you've ever tried to put a cat in a costume. I can always tell who has, I know. So like one time I tried to dress my cat up like a mermaid, and she ran around the house backwards for 20 minutes, trying to get that tail to fall off. Except for me, instead of a tail, it was my boobs. And I couldn't run backwards fast enough to get them to fall off. For that, it was a very expensive procedure, and it took me a long time to decide to do it because I'm extremely cheap. I'm cheap. I come from a long line of cheap. Like my mom is somebody who uses old butter containers and calls them Tupperware. Like I'm so cheap that a few years ago at Pride, I took 5 bags of condoms because they were free. And then I got home and I was like, yeah, I don't really use these. So now I just wear them as socks. Which is just smart, you know? But I have mostly straight dude friends because I do stand-up, and no matter how chill they are or how much they've learned in the past 3 years, their reaction to the news that I got top surgery is always the same. They're always like, no. Boobs. And I have to be like, well, you weren't gonna see them. And they'll be like, yeah, but I just like boobs, like some sort of titty ghost. But it's alright, like I get it. We all get mad at stuff that we have no business getting mad at, you know what I mean? Like I'm mad all the time and I don't want to be, because it takes up a lot of energy just to walk around mad. And my therapist, the internet, said that if you don't want to be mad all the time, you can't worry about changing other people, you have to change yourself, right? So I was thinking about it, because now I've been thinking, right? Like I'm on this cool thinking kick, and I was like, hey Jake, what are some situations that you get mad in that you have no business being mad in? You know what I mean? Like I was thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, for sure, when people tell me how to do things that I already know how to do, you know what I mean? Like when you go to the restaurant and you order guacamole, and it comes out and it's got a chip already in it. I'm like, fuck you! I know how to eat that! But then I was thinking about it, because now I'm thinking, right? I was like, hey Jake, maybe that chip isn't about you. Maybe they put that there because at some point somebody didn't know how to eat guacamole. Right? Like whenever they introduced guacamole to the United States, which I assume is the 1980s, I don't know history. Whoever the hippest lady in the neighborhood back in the day was, probably someone named Kathy or something, goes down to her local bistro and orders the guacamole, comes out and Kathy just face plants into it. And they're like, oh no. Kathy just embarrassed herself. We gotta put a chip in that. And it's the Kathy chip, it's her fault, not mine. I wasn't mad anymore. You guys will have to excuse me if at some point I lose my train of thought. I started taking testosterone, and I don't know, like straight, like cis guys, you gotta answer me this, alright, so like now, I don't have thoughts anymore. What the hell? I got no more thoughts, I didn't know this, like I could look at a wall and be fine. It's stupid. So I'm trying to think, I'm trying to be on a thinking kick, right? Like, I'm trying to better myself, I'm trying to be a better person, you know? Like, I started taking martial arts classes because I aspire to get into a fight one day. And I used to try to start a lot of fights, but I never successfully got into them because I'm 5'3". So it would just be me out in front of a bar with some 6'4" dude being like, "Come at me, bro! Come at me, bro!" And then it was like he was being attacked by a backpack. He'd be like, "Yeah!" And he'd go back inside not knowing that he'd ever been in a fight. And after about 20 minutes, he'd be like, "Oh, hey there, little buddy." So now if I get a fighting name, it's going to be Jansport. Yeah. So I had top surgery, right? And my surgeon, I love her so much. She was fantastic. She was like a straight lady, so I didn't know what to expect, like how like open-minded she would be. But she was so cool. She walked me through the whole surgery process, and the last thing she did is she drew a picture, and she's like, "This is what your reconstructed chest is going to look like. And I have one last question. Where do you want your nipples?" And I was like, "Where they go?" "Put them back. For God's sake, put them back on my body. Please put them back." And I started looking around her office for like jars of nipples, you know? Like Aaron jars of nipples with some sort of like she has an illicit button business or something, you know, like I don't know, like she uses them as coins or something weird like that. I was like, "Put them back on my body." Has anyone ever said anything different? Has anyone ever been like, I don't know, "Put them on my ass"? That'd be a fun joke. Like, "You boys want to see some titties?" And she waited me out like I was a child, and after a long pause, she goes, "Are you finished?" And I was like, "Oh, well, what about a cat? You put a bunch of them on?" She's like, No. Listen, people who have no gender sometimes get dysphoria from having nipples, so they choose not to have them back on their body. And I was like, "Well, oh shit, straight lady. You just outgayed me." Because she was thinking, right? She was thinking about stuff. Oh man, I use they them pronouns specifically to upset and confuse baby boomers. And it's difficult to explain to people that I use they them singularly. Like we already use they them singularly in our language. If you think about it, if you saw someone who looked like me standing across the room and you're like, "I don't know the gender of that person, but they sure are eating all the hummus," you would be correct. I love a good dip, you know? But I have to explain it to people, and people get mad at me sometimes when I ask them to change the way that they think. And I don't have like a big gay family that I could ask how to do this stuff, to tell people that I use they, them pronouns. So I have to go online to learn stuff. And I don't read, so I go to YouTube. And the only people giving queer advice on YouTube are 13-year-olds named Aiden with blue hair. And they give the worst advice. Like Aiden, you know, this kid, best of luck to this kid, but they have a whole video that's titled "How to Tell People That You Use They, Them Pronouns." And it's just this 13-year-old in their basement going, "Okay, cool, so if you want to tell people that you use they, them pronouns, all you gotta do is tell them you're like the purple gem from Steven Universe. Like and subscribe." And I'm like, what the hell does any of that mean? How do I tell my HR manager? You know, but I was thinking about it, because now I'm thinking, right? I was thinking about it. I was like, hey, you know what? And this time I had a stupid thought. Don't do this. I was like, hey, maybe an adult came here before you and left an answer in the comment section. Yeah, I know now that's a bad idea. But at the time, I went down there, and do any of you have suburban moms? Check on them. Because it's like 11:30 at night, and there are a lot of Kathys down there in that comment section. Just going off on this poor 13-year-old kid. There's a lot of Kathys sitting in their craft room on their iPad tonight, just going, Aiden! on pronouns. You expect me, Kathy from Schaumburg, to learn something new? Aiden! Do you expect me, Kathy, who still makes tuna noodle casseroles, to learn something new? Aiden, you're asking for special treatment, kid. You know that? You're asking for special treatment. Do you know who asked for the most special treatment? Suburban moms. I have worked at a lot of sandwich shops. Once you're in that business, you do not get out. In every sandwich shop I've ever worked at, there's always been some Kathy standing in line, forcing me to remake her turkey melt for a 4th time, because an onion touched it. And I'm like, Kathy, that onion is not the reason your husband won't kiss you. I'll kiss her though. Kiss all your moms. My mom's not quite a Kathy. She's making up for the 90s. She's like liberal, but everybody in the 90s was homophobic, right? So she's like trying to make up for it now. And she's trying with my pronouns. I called her on my birthday, and she answered the phone, and she was like, "It's the birthday girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl." It's alright, Mom, you got it. But she's trying to make up for the 90s, I think, because in her book club, they're having like a silent contest to have the most gay kids. And she thought she was winning because she's got me, and then she's got my sister who's also gay, right? Like, yeah, I don't know if you're dating my sister, I don't know. Like, she thought she was winning, right? But then, like, she felt like she was in a deficit all of a sudden because one of her bookmate people had 2 kids transition, right? So she felt like she was in a deficit, so this is what she did. She called me up. She was like, "Honey, you know your dad's bird?" My dad has a bird. She goes, "I think he's transgender." I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, he was flying around the house, and then he hit his head, and now he's trying to lay an egg. I think he's transgender." I was like, I don't know if that is the most progressive or the most offensive thing that I've ever heard. But I think she should win for being able to talk to birds and for creativity. But here's the thing, this whole time she could have just counted herself, right? Because recently she accidentally came out to me as bisexual, right? Yeah, don't clap for her, because I say by accident because she denies it. But this is what happened. You all are smart. I think you'll side with me. I called her up and I was like, "Happy Mother's Day," or whatever it was, and she goes, "Boy, girl," no. She goes, "Honey, I am so worried." I was like, "Why are you so worried?" And she goes, "Wow, I just read an article that 1/3 of high school students are now identifying as bisexual." I was like, "That's pretty cool. Why would that worry you?" She goes, "Wow, I just don't think that they understand that everybody has crushes on men and women equally." And I was like, "They don't. Do you?" And she was like, "Of course." And I was like, "Happy Pride, Mom, you're bisexual." And she just goes, "And no." I was like, "Why no? You just defined it and then said you were that." And she goes, "Well, I just don't think we could have more than one in a family." I know, I was like, "Well, no. Now we were just counting. You got me, we got my sister, now we got a transgender bird. And the other thing is that I know for a fact that my dad is gay. Like, I don't no. He's just the only grown man I know who blushes when he talks about Weird Al Yankovic. And that's pretty extremely gay. All right, thank you guys, you've been great.